If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so excited and honored today to have Glenn Croston on the phone with us. Glenn is calling us from, we're calling Glenn actually, in San Diego, California, and he's written 2 great books, Starting Up Green and 75 Green Businesses. Glenn, welcome to Green is Good.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Glenn, everyone who comes on this show has tremendous resumes and credentials and things of that such. And, the thing I love about your credentials, besides having written these 2 very relevant and timely and important books, is, not only do you have a PhD in biology and you're, of course, well educated, but you actually not only talk a great talk, obviously, because of all your writings and your success in your books, but you actually walk a great walk because the house that you live in has solar panels. You do the composting. You have the compact fluorescent light bulbs, and your whole mission, which I love, Mike. You got to listen to this. Glenn looks forward to a time when there's no green businesses at all, because all businesses are green.
Love that vision, Glenn.
Come on. Glenn, welcome to Green is Good. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Hey, so anyway, why did you write these books? Like, you got a PhD in biology. What made you, get, motivated to jump on the green revolution train and motivate others and inspire others and inform them how they could get on?
Well, there were a few things involved in that. I think as a father and as a biologist that I looked around and, you can see where the world was going, and I wanted to make a difference myself. I'm not sure where I'll be in 2050, but I think my kids will still be here, and I want them to have the same great world that I've always had. So I think that was a big part of the motivation.
So the first book you wrote was called
75 Green Businesses That You Can Start to Make Money and Make a Difference.
And for all our listeners out there, first of all, Glenn has a great website that Mike's on right now, startingupgreen.com. You could look at the little previews of these books that he's written on his website, but also you could buy them on Amazon.com. So 75 Green Businesses. How did you vet that out, and how did you come up with these businesses, and how's that book doing?
Doing great, and I think the ideas came from all kinds of different places. Some of them were from my own, personal experiences as a green consumer and looking for needs that I thought needed to be filled, looking at what people are already doing, the trends that are already progressing, and trying to project forward and seeing where those might be going, and talking to the experts out there and seeing what they have to say about where the green business world is headed and where the big opportunities are going to be.
So give our listeners a little tease here, because we get so many emails, and Mike and I get contacted all the time. How do I get involved? I love your show, but I can't start a big business. What's the hot green businesses now for our budding entrepreneurs out there that want to join in and become part of the solution?
Yeah, well, there are lots of great opportunities, I think, and it doesn't always take a ton of money to get started. So, we hear a lot about clean tech businesses, which often involve a lot of research and very, very capital intensive, but there's a lot of things that people can do, building on their experience they have in other fields and taking it in a new direction. So, for example, I think one of the big opportunities today is with energy efficiency, and that can even start with really small stuff in the home, and businesses that do energy auditing and contracting for stuff like insulation, weather sealing, changing windows. So there's a lot of opportunities to start small, right in your home, and the businesses that can help to make that happen.
Gotcha. So you wrote that book, 75 Green Businesses, and then your follow-up book is called?
It's called Starting Green. It's an ecopreneur's toolkit for starting a green business, from business plan to profits.
Got it. And explain the differential between the books and how now you're helping entrepreneurs, you're really giving them a step-by-step on how to do this.
Yeah, exactly. So the first book, 75 Green Businesses, it's all about all kinds of different ideas, opportunities for things that people can do.
Right.
And then the next book goes into more detail to provide a plan for how people can do that. Talking about marketing, business planning, raising money, government incentives out there these days that help a lot of these business fields, and a little more depth in things of the hot topics like energy efficiency businesses, solar, green retail, direct sales, green franchises. So a few of the fields that are the kinds of big opportunities that people are looking for these days.
Got it. And so now that these two books are out there, what's the feedback you've been getting, and what are you seeing out there in the marketplace now?
Well, the feedback is good, and I think it's because of the economy and over the last year or so, it's kind of a mixed bag at times where you get it's kind of the best of times and worst of times, and for a lot of green businesses
right.
where there's a lot of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention, and both in terms of saving money and kind of being forced to rethink our direction as a society and in our own personal lives. So. There's a lot of motivation, a lot of eagerness to make things happen, and it's also, of course, we've been going through a very difficult economic time, so it's not always necessarily easy. But nonetheless, there are still lots of opportunities, and I think people can't be put off by the economy. That a lot of times it takes them to kind of just put the fear aside and just get going with something.
Talk about your personal experience a little bit, because Mike and I love having people that really are green in their DNA and come on the show. And obviously, with the way you live in your own home, the solar panels, the composting, the compact fluorescent light bulbs. Explain, are these expensive changes for our listeners to make out there in their own personal life or in their business? Or what has been your own experience as you've walked the green walk?
Yeah, that's what people think. A lot of people think still that going green is kind of an expensive and really hard thing to do, and it's not something that we can afford right now. And it doesn't have to be that way at all. Generally, these things are stuff that just makes actually business sense or sense for your economics in your home, for your budget.
Right.
These are things. A lot of these things that we're doing are stuff to save money. It's not just for of course, it's great to save the polar bears and the planet and so on. But it's not just for that. It's actually also good for you and your home today, and for your kids down the road. And
so, okay, and that's a great point. So when people come over your home, friends and family, are they inspired by what they see that you're doing to make those same changes in their life?
A lot of times, people are curious, and they say, hey, what's that, and how does that work? And they, or they say, oh yeah, we looked at those light bulbs, and we don't like them because of how they look and how they flicker, and you have to tell them, well, there was a problem before when the bulbs were new, but they're better now, and it's a whole different world, and now's the time to really give it another try and see what
you're right. How old are your kids?
Well, I got two girls. One is 6 and one is 16.
So are you considered the cool dad because because you're one of the thought leaders and one of the inspirations of the Green Revolution? Are you now considered like one of the cool dads down there in San Diego?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just for my kids anyway. I'm just dad. I don't think they really think about the book a lot. I guess they think it's kind of cool. Like the little one especially. She's really into it. Kids really pick up on this stuff because they have a natural affinity for doing the right thing. They often are kind of the source of inspiration for the parents at home. They'll bring home, what they learn at school about recycling, and they'll be the ones who kind of drive some of these changes.
Glenn, you were so correct in that, because kids, I think the natural affinity comes from the fact that when we're kids, we spend much more time outdoors and we're discovering everything, and we see things, if we can become as adults more childlike, not childish, but childlike, with that sense of wonder at everything that, is beautiful in nature around us. It makes us think with our adult heads, it's like, wow, we got to take care of this. So you're spot on with that with your kids. We get so caught
up in our daily worries about paying the mortgage, paying the bills, going to work, and especially lately, that it tends to drive out our appreciation of the natural world. What a great this thing is! What a great thing this is! What a gift it is! And the fact that we really have to take care of it, because we take it for granted, but that doesn't mean it's going to be around forever if we don't do the right thing.
Hey, Glenn, that brings up a great point. You bring up and you and Mike both bring up a great point there. Like, say tonight, you, me, and Mike went out with each of us brought 3 of our best buddies, and we all went out to have a beer, and of course, on the second half of the show today, we have Coors coming on, so of course it would be a Coors beer.
Nice.
and we were just commiserating about the typical stuff that goes on in today's society, and they all said, "Hey, Glenn, you wrote the book, and we all want to change our careers." And they all look to you. What would be the advice for people out there looking to replant themselves, looking to reinvent themselves now, and really become part of the solution and become part of the green revolution? What are the simple steps you can offer over a beer or through your book and the knowledge that you have? What would you be telling them tonight?
Well, I think there's one way to go is to, for people who are really looking for a new direction, a new career, a new business, I think the best thing to do is to build on what they already have, to look at their experience, look at what they know, and see how they can apply that in one of these new fields. Because it's not all just about people with their boots on the roof. Of course, that's very important, people installing solar panels, people out in wind farms. But it's also people with sales experience, marketing experience, people who can provide business operations guidance, business management. So, people who have great business skills can easily, I think, find opportunities to apply that in these new areas with a little bit of effort. So that's one. And I think for people who want to kind of work within their current environment, that they can look around and I think the best way to go at the moment is to look for ways to reduce waste. Because that's the message that sells to management. It's like, I'm going to find ways for you to save money. I'm going to reduce waste.
Right.
And they could become kind of the local in-house sustainability consultant and start to drive change from the inside. And then that, maybe in the future would lead to new opportunities down the road.
Hey, when you went out to write the first book, tell our listeners and Mike and myself a little bit of what were you surprised to learn when you were doing the research for 75 Green Businesses, and what didn't shock you? Like what were some of this? What were you expecting that wasn't reality, and what weren't you expecting that really was in this whole green revolution?
Wow, there's just there's so many surprises along the way, and I guess that one thing that wasn't really a surprise was that there are so many committed, passionate people in this field who some of them have been working at it for a long time, some of them are newcomers, but it's a great thing about the green business world that there's so many people who care deeply, they're working hard, they're passionately committed to making something happen. And I guess something that kind of is a little bit of a surprise sometimes is that although they're passionately committed, that they're so committed to the idea, they're not always necessarily viewing their business as a business. And so they're a little bit reluctant to actually make money sometimes. They almost there's an ambivalence in some of the green business world about making money, about coming right out and say, you know what, I want to do the right thing, but I want to make money at it too. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me, that reluctance to kind of embrace that and to say, not only is the business world it's part of that life, it's part of the it can actually be a powerful force for good.
Right. Now, is this whole green industry and the whole green revolution? We hear so much about climate change. Fact or fiction? Is this whole green revolution about climate change in your eyes?
No, it isn't. And I think the conversation gets too caught up in climate change. I mean, climate change, I think, personally, I think is very important. I know not everybody feels that way, but I think it's important for us to recognize it's not all about that, because that can get to be a distraction. There's plenty of other important issues which would drive us to make greener choices in how we do things, regardless of climate change. Regardless of climate change, that coal isn't really the long-term energy solution we probably want to stick with. We got to emphasize other things like energy efficiency and renewables, and that's not just because of climate change. It's because coal is dirty, and there's a price that we have to pay down the road one way or another.
How about greenwashing? When you looked under the hoods of some businesses in your travels and in your research, did you see a lot of that, or was it less than we would assume there it is going on?
I really think it's less than we think. That you hear a lot about greenwashing, and there is some finger pointing about people saying that you're not green and he's not green, and I think the important thing to remember is that nobody's perfectly green.
Right.
We all have an impact on the planet, and that's kind of a fact of life. You can't have 6 billion people on the planet without having an impact. But the point is to do better, and there's such a huge opportunity to do better that when businesses do that, when they make a commitment, when they make real progress, and I think that should be recognized and rewarded, regardless if they're perfectly green or not, or if they meet your criteria for what being, what a perfect green business should look like.
Hey, Glenn, you are so right, because truly, if it's about everybody doing a little bit better, it's not about being perfect. It's just doing something. And we can do a lot more than we think we can, but just getting started and not worrying about being perfectly green or hitting it out of the park every time and being perfect. That pursuit of perfection sometimes causes a lot of fear in people, and that's why people don't get started to do anything in life, because they don't think they're going to be perfect at it.
Exactly.
So thanks for bringing that
up. It could be
up.
a hindrance. The perfect could be the worst enemy of the good. And you talk to the leaders in this field, like you talk to Ray Anderson and people at Interface, and they'll be the first ones to tell you, we're not perfect. I mean, and
by the way, he's an alumni of our show.
Yeah,
Ray is great. I mean, Ray's really, truly one of the really legends of this green revolution. He's just an amazing inspiration, huh?
He's a fantastic guy, a great leader, and he's also very upfront about it when he tells you, like, we've been doing this for a long time, and I think, I think everyone agrees they made a ton of progress, and their leaders,
right.
We're not perfect. I mean, here's what we have going on. Here's the progress we made. We have this far to go. So as long as you approach it like that, I think you're fine.
Hey, so on the same lines, let's talk about that. We have, Mike and I are so blessed to have people in from around the world call in, because our show is so, easy to access because we do it over the phone. So we've had Paris and London and Costa Rica. You're, I think, our first guest from San Diego. So let's talk a little bit. Mike and I have both spent a lot of time down in San Diego. We love San Diego. We're sitting here in Fresno, California. Fresno has the highest recycling rates in the nation. How is San Diego doing in the green revolution, and how have they implemented change in their infrastructure for their own to keep San Diego green?
Well, okay, that's a great question. So San Diego has a lot of stuff going on. They have, of course, they have all the stuff like recycling. They're having one of the things that they're doing, though, is they're working with the with the local government and the business community to try to encourage the growth of San Diego as a green business hub.
Great.
And they're trying to put together funding for home energy renovations and sustainable energy, as per like a lot of California communities.
Sure.
Funded out of your property taxes, and that's in the works, and that'll be coming soon.
Great.
And taking care of the oceans is a big, and water conservation are big issues here, because it's a great place, but
right.
We don't have a ton of water, so that's an important issue where once again local government, the business community, and homeowners are working together to try to make progress.
So you feel that San Diego is really is doing their part to really make sure that they are not only prepared for what's going on today, but prepared for the green future that we're all going to be living in.
Well, I think we've got a good start. I can't say we're all the way where we need to be down the road. That there's still a lot of work to be done with issues like with resource issues, with reorganizing our business world to be more efficient, to be greener, to be more competitive, to be lean and green for the global economy.
Right.
So it's a start, with a lot of room to go still.
Great. And Mike's on your website here, and what I also looked at your website last night, which I love, by the way, startingupgreen.com. Startingupgreen.com for our listeners who want to access more of Glenn's books and his information after they listen to this show. You do have so many amazing ways for people to access the green revolution. You talk about what kind of business opportunities, and you talk about green building and renewable energy and energy efficiency, organic food, which is, obviously considered, a huge part of the sustainability movement, transportation, waste reduction, recycling, clothing, services. I mean, truly, the green revolution and the sustainability movement, which Mike and I talk about all the time here with regards to planet, people, and profits, touches every part of our lives.
Oh, absolutely. It's not restricted. We think about solar a lot, and solar is a great opportunity, but it's not just that. It's really every industry.
Yeah.
And runs throughout our lives. There are opportunities. That's why, when I say I really mean it, that I look forward to a time when there aren't any green businesses, because at the moment, people think of green as kind of a niche. It's kind of something over there over on that side of the world for those people. And I think what the kind of the hidden revolution here isn't just for like a small niche. It's that all businesses and all industries are getting more efficient, greener and leaner, whether they call themselves green or not.
Right.
And I think that's where we want to head in the future.
Hey, and Glenn, unfortunately, we're down to the last couple of minutes, and usually we turn that over to our great guests like you. And, first of all, I want our audience to read your books if they got inspired by what you're saying today. Starting Green, which is your new one, or 75 Green Businesses You Can Start to Make Money and Make a Difference. Two great books, and so relevant and so timely as we reinvent our economies and we reinvent ourselves. You have a couple minutes left now, about a minute and a half. Share your last pearls of wisdom with our listeners. What do you want to leave them with to inspire them as we say goodbye here for the last couple of minutes?
Well, I'd like for people to think about taking their lives, their careers, their businesses in a new direction. To don't be afraid and to embrace these things, to look at them not just as problems, but as opportunities. These are opportunities for people to get in there and make a difference and make a positive change for themselves and for our planet.
Great. Glenn, just the way you live your life and just your mission has been so informational and inspirational to Mike and myself today and to our listeners. We want to thank you again for coming on. We wish you the best with your two great books. We ask our listeners, if they want to learn more about Glenn, to go to his website, startingupgreen.com. Great website. Glenn Croston, thank you for coming on Green is Good, and you are truly living proof that green is good.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.